Please rise for the prayer and pledge of allegiance. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Item D on the agenda tonight is approval of minutes from the January 17th meeting. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the minutes shall stand approved. They will stand approved. Item E, citizen communication. If there is anyone online that has anything to address that is not on the agenda, feel free to leave a message and we will be sure to address that. Item F, reports from council committees. Item F1, the Finance and Budget Committee did not meet on January 24th due to lack of agenda items. Item F2, the Safety and Human Resources Committee did not meet on January 24th, 2022 due to lack of agenda items. And item F3, the Technology and Communications Committee did not meet tonight due to lack of agenda items. Moving on to item H, introductions of new ordinances and resolutions. Item H1, ordinance number 00522, an ordinance amending certain City of Napoleon traffic schedules, specifically Schedule 2, parking time limits on certain city streets as listed in the attached Exhibit A, and amending ordinance number 030-19 and declaring an emergency. Can we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Joel.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. The ordinance before you right now has to do with the parking, allowing parking on the north side of Front Street. And this is something that was discussed in previous meetings. Had to do with some of the, well, for one, there's parking already on the north side of Front Street occurring right now. So this would make it legal to do so, I guess. And number two, this was after discussions we had with some of the business owners as it related to the plan to repave Front Street. So in addition to this, there are a few items in there too that when reviewed, Chad had noticed that some of the items were not cleaned up, so to speak. So he made some corrections, cleanup items that needed corrected. So other than that, requesting first read unless anybody has questions.
Any comments or questions?
We don't need to designate how to park or where to park on the north side of Front Street, do we?
I believe it does. I'll just have.
I mean, is it angled or straight or parallel, or do we have paint lines on rock?
No.
Okay.
Parallel in front of the winery, angled in front of Trigen.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Rox, please call the roll.
Dan?
Yes.
Chad?
Yes.
Dr. Cordis?
Yeah.
Molly?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes. Item H2, resolution number 006-22, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute any and all documents necessary to apply for and accept a fiscal year 2022 Assistance to Firefighters Grant from the Department of Homeland Security and Federal Emergency Management Agency and declaring an emergency. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Joel.
Thank you. This is a requirement to apply for the AFG grant. So we're requesting suspension on this so that we can expedite and meet the timeline for the grant application due date.
When is that due date, Joe?
February.
Motion for suspension.
Thank Hayes.
Second.
All right, Rox, call the roll for suspension.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Cordis,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes. Questions or comments? All right, Rox, call the roll, please.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Dr. Cordis.
Yep.
Molly.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes. All right, moving on to item H3, resolution number 008-22, a resolution authorizing the participation in the Ohio Department of Transportation Cooperative Purchasing Program and declaring an emergency. Do you have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. Joel?
Thank you. This is for the annual ODOT crack sealing program. This allows us to enter an agreement with ODOT and get their contract pricing for crack sealing, and requesting first read.
Questions, comments here? Hearing none. Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Dr. Cordis.
Yep.
Molly.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes. All right. Moving on to item I, second readings of ordinances and resolution. Item I-1, resolution number 004-22, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the Housing Revolving Loan Fund Administration Agreement between the State of Ohio Development Service Agencies and the City of Napoleon and declaring an emergency. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Joel?
Thank you. This is to renew our contract for the use of home funds, and that's the CHIP program. And one of the questions was, how do they market this to the people that use this? And I did send, Councilwoman Sinclair, I sent you a response since you asked that question, but there's a whole list of variety of ways that they market the program. Not every year is very high. 2020 was a very high year for usage. In fact, they had to create a waiting list for people that wanted to use it, so that until they got more funds in, because it's kind of a perpetual, kind of like, for lack of a better word, a revolving loan fund, so they're waiting for more money to come in and get other projects in their pipeline. So 2020 was a really good year for that, and it's not always that way, but Liz Keel is her name over at Maumee Valley Planning, and they do a pretty good job of hitting all the different networks of people that they need to. And I asked if there's any way we could help, and she said absolutely. They've got, she right away sent a flyer over. At some point in time, we'll try to use social media to advertise it. So it's a good program.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none. Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Dr. Cordis.
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes. Moving on to third readings of ordinances and resolutions. Item J1, ordinance number 063-21, an ordinance authorizing a pay increase for the City of Napoleon, Ohio Law Director and declaring an emergency. Do we have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions here? Hearing none. Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Dr. Cordis.
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes. Item J2, ordinance number 064-21, an ordinance authorizing a pay increase for the City of Napoleon, Ohio City Manager and declaring an emergency. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any comments or questions here? Hearing none, please call the roll, Rox.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Dr. Cordis.
Yeah.
Molly.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Moving on to item K, good of the city. Item K1, discussion or action, award of the Van Heining Pump Station Replacement Project. Joel?
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. So this is one project that we bid last year, did not receive any bids. Came back this year, tried it again, upped the engineer's estimate. With everything going on, it's been difficult getting bids for any of our projects. So this one in particular, though, we split out the base bid and had a couple of different alternates in there. One of them, the key one here is that alternate the boring of a parallel line underneath the railroad. We just went through this with the railroad line sewer, storm sewer line over by the, where we had the sewer collapse by the gas line and the rail that what goes under into the golf course. And the pricing we got back on that one was pretty substantial, and the pricing on this clearly $622,000 was out of our budget, out of our amount. It's not 100% necessary. It's a redundancy. So at this point, the recommendation, and by the way, the engineer's estimate was 2.5 million. That's up from the 1.6 million that it was, so $900,000 above a year later. So now it's just the base bid is $2.7 million. So that's the trend we're seeing in prices. So pump stations you don't see pump station projects every day. So it's not like this is, these aren't, your regular run-of-the-mill road projects. So doing something like this that's 40 feet in the ground, concrete vaults with specialized pumps in them, they're pretty complicated. So and they're necessary. This one in particular is probably the most important pump station in the city, since it covers so much ground. So that said, the recommendation, fortunately we got a bid. Unfortunately, it's higher than what we had the engineer's estimate and higher from previous years. So the recommendation is to award the base bid.
Questions or comments here? If not, we'll need a motion for approval.
It's tough because we absolutely have to have it, right? Nobody wants to pay twice what we originally budgeted, but at the same time, we absolutely have to have it. And if this fails, then it's bad news for everybody.
Could you explain the other alternate, that chopper thing?
Oh, it's the style of pumps. It was just an upgraded, beefed up version of pumps.
Is
That
it worth it to have it?
In my opinion, no.
Okay.
I think the pumps that are spec'd out are just fine.
Well, putting it off the year didn't help price-wise, so it's not likely that costs would go down, but it's not recommended to wait. Cannot wait.
Well, the other piece of this is that it is a long-term control plan project, an EPA required. That's part of one of their required projects for us that we've, in our renegotiation, added this in as we subtracted out a lot of other things. So, no, there's no doubt it needs attention. Can we kick the can down the road? I mean, yes, the dice rolls get a little
Dicier.
dicier.
Right.
Your odds decrease as you extend that out. That's just it's just what it is.
You don't think the price would come down after supply chain issues ease a little bit? I think we're starting to see it ease a little on some things.
To me, it's a lot of guesswork. If they ease, are the prices really gonna come down, or is this where the natural fit is? Then you risk, well, what if? What if it goes up again? there's a lot of what-if scenarios that you could run, but I guess there's more than one dice game you could play with this too. Personally, my opinion is, I don't think that the pricing of things are going to go down. If they do, they're not gonna go down that much. They're definitely not gonna go back to where they were before. My opinion, and that's it. That's, thinking this through, why the recommendation is to move forward with the base bid. I think the chances of it getting worse are better than the chances of it getting better if we wait.
If it fails, then the scenario would be a lot different, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, in order to get someone in to fix it.
Yeah, it turns into an emergency situation. It's pumping, pretty much the whole north side of Napoleon. I think Williams Pump Station even feeds down into that, so it just, everything from the north kind of funnels down into Van Heining. It covers a lot of area. We're approved for, so let's talk about rates then for a second. We're approved for $3 million through DEFA. If we wanted to award the alternate, we would have to go back to the Ohio EPA, Environmental Financing Authority first. Also, I just don't think the scenarios are gonna get better. Rates, the sewer fund is healthy enough, I think, at this point to absorb this. Now, going down the road, it will have an effect because it's just gonna be that debt. Very low interest loan debt.
How low?
But, Kevin, I don't know how long we have this set for, that we were planning on.
I'm not sure either.
Was this 25? It might be, it's somewhere, I think, between 20 and 25
Yeah,
years.
it's quite out there.
We don't know rate.
Pardon?
We don't know rate.
No, I think there is a rate that's
Yeah.
been established. I think we're under 1%. I think we're in the 0.8%
Okay,
range.
so
of
there's the
loan.
other part of the math that goes into it, right? We push it back for a year, the .8 money may probably be gone. Right, so we're risking failure. B, we're hoping prices go down, and we're pretty sure interest rate in a year will be higher than they are now.
Yes.
So, I agree with the question though, Dr. Cordes, I really do. I think it's a great question to ask. I just think that
It's just a tough spot.
it is, it absolutely is. Yeah, it's one of those, you gotta hold your nose and go. I think this is, we gotta go with what we got.
And if I could add,
Please.
it's not that we push this out. I mean, this is the third time that we've had this offered with no bids. So we do run that risk of
Nobody bid next year.
nobody bidding or the price remains the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, rate-wise, the sewer fund is in good shape. The long-term debt on this, our debt payments are gonna be a little higher, but that's something to factor in down the road when rates are reviewed.
Do we hear a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Cordes,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes. Moving on to item K2, discussion or action of the Ritter Park Path Project. Joel?
This is one project that we bid again, so we turned around and bid this again. We didn't get any bids. Various reasons from the different contractors that pulled plans. I heard from the last bid round that some of the contractors just said, well, because of timing, we couldn't submit something, so it's a good project, but we just couldn't submit. Other contractors, this time around said, well, we can't touch this number, the engineer's estimate, and also one of them had trouble locking in material prices. So we're seeing a lot of that too with our bids, is that people aren't submitting bids because they have a hard time locking in the material prices from subs or suppliers. That said, for this project, no action needed, I guess, unless we can assign it to the Municipal Properties Committee. Have a discussion about, what to do next. We're working with ODOT, because it is, grant funded. We'd still like to do a project, but it may be that we carve out a piece. And if we're already redoing Front Street, we would just want to add this as a part of Front Street. That's Front Street repaving. That's an option. That's probably the most logical one because of the, the plans that we have for repaving that right now. So, other than that, it's, we're working with ODOT. They understand the circumstances. They're not, they get this from time to time. They're working with us. They have their estimators looking at it, seeing what, comparing our estimate to some of what their estimators are seeing. And we're seeing that the engineer's estimate, our engineer's estimate is a little bit low in a lot of different categories. So it may be that we have to make some adjustments, move a part of the project into another project, and then go from there and see what happens.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
One question, not directly related, but indirectly related, that I just got this afternoon, is the people, or the individual on Jan's Road wanted to know if that part of the project, which I think had already been approved, if that sidewalk situation is still coming in this current calendar year.
Yes.
Because the question came up, well, if this is being delayed, does that get delayed too?
That's all part of the project. The Ritter Park Path project includes that Jan's Road piece, so
But the Jan's Road project is still on,
it's part of this.
It's
So
part
it
of
would have
this.
to be rebid.
so it
Yep.
is delayed then?
Yes.
Okay, that's the answer I wanted, yes.
So if we meet with municipal properties next week, I think we can, come up with a plan, see what everybody's comfortable with, and then bring back a design, a new design, and have, bring it before city council to approve to rebid.
I think that question came up after your radio show.
Oh, okay.
Councilwoman Nepley, can we assign that to municipal properties? Blacks. Thank you. All right, moving on to item K3, discussion or action, approval for purchase of a bucket truck for Napoleon Power and Light Trimming Crew.
This is under budget, if you can believe it, so recommendations to jump on this as quickly as we can, make this purchase, and, vehicle prices we're seeing too, both in, residential and commercial areas, we're seeing, jumps in vehicle prices, so. Greg, do you have anything to add? Budgeted amount was 200,000. The quote we have, or the, 192.
Is that state contract? Okay.
It was it's a Freightliner, chassis with the Altec bucket, and that company is out of, they have a satellite mechanic shop type in Fort Wayne.
Okay.
So we do a lot of business with them already, it's kind of convenient, where they come down to us sometimes we go to them. So it worked out really well.
Is this like a lot of new vehicles, you order it and it shows up 8 to 10 months later?
They actually, the guy, the salesman that came down said that he thought if they had one in stock, that it would be here in June, but they checked in their lot and they didn't have one. So he actually gave me a word that it would be here in October, so keep our fingers crossed.
This year, October, or just
Yeah,
October?
no.
Yeah.
This year, so I told him I was gonna tell him that, yeah, we're in a rush for it, so,
Yeah. Don't give them a reason to
yeah.
To not-
rush somebody else.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions or comments here? And can we have a motion for approval?
Motion?
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Rox, please call the roll.
Dan?
Yes,
Cal?
Yes.
Dr. Cordis?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes. Item K4, discussion or action, review of the Napoleon Area
Thanks, Greg.
School District Campus Improvement Agreements.
Thank you. In our contract with the Napoleon area schools regarding the campus improvement agreement, the final invoice, which is, it was over a course of 3 years, $50,000 invoices. This is the final invoice, and in there, it says council will approve of the final invoice to ensure that everything, all the stipulations were met on the school side per this agreement, so.
And they all been met.
They have, yeah, and a long story short is they've all been met. The chiefs looked at it, Chad's looked at it, and they've both made comments that, yep, everything that we were hoping would happen has happened, so recommending approval of the final invoice, and we'll close the books on this one.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none.
This is a great example of the city and the school district working together. And this little council has last approval was a sticking point when we did this agreement. But it gave council instead of just writing a blank check every year and then say, well, we'll get to it. They've held up their end. We need to hold up our end and expedite this as quickly as possible.
With that said, do we have approval of this final invoice?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
No, you're right.
Rox, please call the roll.
Ann,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Dr. Portis.
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Ron.
Yes. Item K5, discussion or action to appoint 2 council members to the Tax Incentive Review Council. Joel, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, oh, sorry about that, I was just scanning through here, so. Yes, the TIRC meets once per year, and what they do is they go over all of the different CRAs and enterprise zone agreements, throughout the county. Meet once a year to make sure that entities that are receiving, tax incentives are meeting what they had signed on to do, so meeting their commitments. We have about 10 or so CRAs that get reviewed just in the city of Napoleon, and then there are enterprise zone agreements in other areas that get reviewed too. So oddly enough, they're not, there's an enterprise zone agreement out there now for Trigen. That was through the commissioners, not through the city, because it's not in a CRA zone. So they don't have to get a CRA, they can always get an enterprise zone agreement with the commissioners anyway, wherever it's at. But I guess the point is that they meet once a year, they review all of the different companies' tax incentives, make sure that they're meeting compliance, and then they take action if they're not, or they approve continuances, or they've even approved of extensions on some in the past, like the enterprise zone agreement for the old Keller building. Anyways, that's in a nutshell what the purpose is. So
The
2 minutes.
CIC runs the meeting, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
yeah. I wasn't sure if it was the auditor that ran it, or
Typically, it's deferred to the CIC.
okay.
I may add, some of the things that are on the list are just as reminders, like the Jan Mar properties, because they have like the 10-year CRAs, Just Bush Investments, Custer Corporations, American Road Holdings, Shank Properties, Ventures in Space, those items like that, they roll through those. Typically, there's usually no questions with them, but every now and then you get stuck on one.
Roxanne, last year, was that Council President Valeruki and myself? Council President did say he's willing to do it. I'm happy to do it again unless someone else would like to do it.
I'm laughing because you're railroading him right through it. I love it.
I already got his approval.
That's what you get for not showing up, Joe. You get
That's
on the
right.
meeting.
All right. I will gladly do that with Council President Bowser.
I'll move to approve those two.
Second.
We have a second.
Second. Perfect.
All right, Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Cordis?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes. All right, item K6, discussion or action, approve appointment of Kevin Geringer as delegate and Shannon Fielder as alternate to the Regional Council of Governments, RETA. Kevin, you want to take that one?
Yes, thank you, Council President. As part of the joining of the RETA, we joined the Regional Council of Governments. They have an annual meeting, and every entity gets one vote. So we need to delegate somebody as the person to represent the city of Napoleon, and we need to have an alternate for that. And I'm just asking for a motion to approve myself as the delegate and Shannon Fielder as the alternate.
Do we have a motion?
A motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Cordis?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes. Item K8, discussion or action, K7, discussion action accepts $523.60 from law enforcement partners. Joel?
Nothing really to add to this, just basically a donation from law enforcement partners working with the police department. So I guess this is just requesting approval. This
What do
money
we
would
do
go
with
into the
that?
general, the money would go into the general fund.
Yeah, what do we do with the law enforcement partner?
I believe this is the one that puts out the calendars, so.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's not worded as a
Nation.
donation, it's just to accept the funds from them.
Do I have a motion to accept?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Cordis?
Yep.
Molly?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes. Item K8, discussion or action, accepts a $1,000 donation from Veterans of Foreign Wars and Ohio Charities, BFW Post 8218, to the Napoleon Police Department. Joel?
Again, this is just a donation, this one's a donation, just requesting approval and acceptance. I don't know if he has this was earmarked for anything specifically, just says donation, so. That's it.
Motion to accept?
Second.
Thank you. Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Cordis?
Yep.
Molly?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes. Thanks to both of those groups for the donation. We'll go around the table here. Start with Joel.
All right. Just wanted to make a quick comment on the snow removal. I thought it went pretty well, got a lot of compliments on that. But it was at the sacrifice of some of the garbage pickup on a couple of days. But the extra help in that area was definitely needed for that, day and a half. But, as for the garbage and snow removal, we've been fielding a lot of calls today. And, we're trying to work with people as best we can. If they've got, we're not gonna ding anybody if they have extra bags out there. But it was just a, one time due to the snow emergency, we're preparing for the worst. I think it worked out when it came to the snow removal, but, again, at the sacrifice of, a week's worth of garbage pickup, so. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Okay. Billy?
I'd like to request an executive session for pending litigation. I won't talk for more than 5 minutes.
It's a law enforcement guarantee.
I won't. I'll be done in 5 minutes. You guys might ask questions at that point.
Dr. Cordis?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Councilman Hayes?
A job well done on the report from the fire department. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Bear?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
Joe, I agree with the comments made about the snow removal. I also agree with not picking up trash, because a lot of people put their stuff out the night before. And they put it out Wednesday night for Thursday morning when buried under these snow piles, and then you're fighting snowy truck, snowy stuff to pick up trash on Thursday. Do we need to do a better job of communicating when that trash we picked up, though? I got that question on Sunday morning. When's my trash gonna picked up? It's usually on Friday. I said, well, it's gonna be a week from Friday. They said, well, I thought I'd let you out because we picked up on Monday. Is there a better way to communicate?
Yeah,
We're gonna
if
push it
we,
back for a week?
it's really hard. Social media hits the most people by far. Other than, we can pay for ads out of the refuse fund. That would be
Was it on the webpage though? I found it on the webpage, but was it like on the home screen of the webpage?
Yes.
We put it on there?
Yeah, so we have the home screen where the pictures are, and
Yeah.
then we have a news feed right underneath that.
Okay. Because I didn't find it there, I found it someplace else, I found it eventually,
Oh.
so,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah, it was on there.
okay.
And we put out, I think, 3 different messages at 3 different times. Maybe it was 2 different times. But,
Okay.
um,
Again, I think it was the
It's-
right idea, right? I absolutely do, because otherwise you're gonna have all kinds of stuff, and you would've had, recycling bin tops and snow drifts, and who knows where those would've ended up, and all kinds of issues, so.
Yeah, we talked about that internally too, and that's why I put it out there early that it's likely that we're gonna cancel it, because the thought at the time was, well, we don't wanna put it out there yet because we haven't decided yet.
Right.
Well, if we're leaning in that direction, and this was kind of an internal discussion with, Jeff and Chad.
Right,
It was communicate early and often. And that's how, we got that out, that first one out early, and then we got one the next day out.
But you're never gonna get everybody,
You're never gonna get everybody. It's true.
not even close.
well,
Even if you do get everybody, 10% don't listen.
only 10?
Only 10.
Honestly, the comment was, I've lived here, the person said, I've lived here since 1955, and even during the blizzard of 78, trash still got picked up. And I just nodded in agreement, because I remember seeing pictures of that, but I wasn't aware enough what was going on at that time. And then I thought about that. There's no way they picked up trash in this blizzard of 78.
No,
You couldn't get cars out of driveways,
Yeah.
so,
it was not picked up.
yeah. I
And
was
this
joking.
isn't the first time,
He was aware.
this wasn't the first time that this has happened though, for Napoleon, canceling garbage pickup.
Yeah,
So it's happened before.
well,
This is the first time since I've been here, but it's happened before.
yeah, I believe that, so.
Yeah.
Kevin, we talked a little bit about potentially having some extra hours for tax season in April.
There's a
Right.
possibility that we
Yeah.
will.
Can we make that determination by next council meeting? Because then we can probably get it in the March bills.
Sure.
Is that possible?
Sure, one of the holdups that we have is that the Saturday before,
Is Holy Saturday.
Is Holy
Yeah.
Saturday,
Yeah,
and so holiday is the Friday, all day on Friday, so
Right.
it doesn't really, we could come in on that Saturday, but we'll be off Friday to come in on Saturday, doesn't
Right.
make a lot of sense, so if we're gonna do it, we'll probably do it the Saturday before that, and at this time, I've not heard of anything where it's being moved back by the federal government, and I'm assuming if they haven't by now, they probably won't.
I agree with you on that, right.
But reminder that the collection is the 18th, I believe,
I
is
think
the
you're right,
due date.
yeah. Yeah, but if we can make a determination by the 21st, then it might get in the March bills. So people see it in March, then also in April then for the utility bills, say, for whatever the hours are gonna be, whatever you guys decide, if you guys decide at all.
Okay,
That just would be my suggestion.
we can get that done.
And just a big win for the city of Napoleon with the announcement that Dana Light Axle is looking to move to Napoleon. So that's a big win for us. So that is what I had. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sinclair?
Thank you for your report, Chief. Nice work.
Thank you.
I'll say the same about the snow removal, because I did get up and go to work on Thursday morning, and I did drive home at 5 PM on Thursday evening, and I had no trouble at all. Question though about the garbage pickup, because of the rule, the 48-hour rule for recycle bins, does that count if you have stuff in the recycle? That just popped in my head, because
Wait, for what now?
if you had your recycle bins set out already and they were full, and then they didn't get picked up, and they're supposed to be picked up within 48 hours after you're
You need to start citing people, is what you're saying.
You'd have to come to my house first, because I've been
No.
telling my son for a
It's-
week.
It's a situation where it's not explicit in the rule.
Right, I know.
But the prosecutor, me, would decide that that's a terrible idea
I would-
and not do it, so.
You know, it's more of a joke because of
Yeah.
my personal experience, but,
What, he's using common sense? What? What?
shoot, that's all I had.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nepoli.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Kevin?
Oh, it's nice being last this time instead of being first, but I'll reiterate what Joel said about how it happened last week. I mean, this, from some behind-the-scenes look, is that this was discussed Tuesday morning at staff meeting, what the plan of attack was, and that it was being prepared for, hope for the best, prepare for the worst type of situations. And I wholeheartedly agree that we missed trash pickup 2 days, but it's also pooling your resources, that the trash people just didn't go home.
Right.
They helped out with the removal of the snow,
Yeah.
which is a big benefit to everybody, just to postpone those for those 2 days with that. But everyone pitched in. I talked to Operations Jeff Rathke today, how everything went. He was quite pleased with everything. But they went to 2 12-hour shifts for those days, splitting, I think from noon to midnight to noon. As for operations of the city, even for our building here, while very understandable, some places closed, schools were closed, we were up and operating, and we did not close at all. And that's a, better feather in our cap that
Absolutely.
we were here for the citizens for that. Received a lot of phone calls about garbage, so.
Yeah.
That's it. If I may, Kevin is the only finance director, I think, in Napoleon's history that picked up a snow shovel and shoveled off the sidewalks out in the front, so.
Do we have a historical picture?
We should. We'll have one of those Ohio historic markers.
Yes.
How long is the probationary period?
2 years. But it only counts through December through March. I don't understand it.
I request a better shovel then.
I don't have much. I just wanted to compliment really every department within the city. The snow cleanup, fire station, paramedics running all day it seems. Police department, I saw driving up and down the street in front of the bank while I was at work. And our electric department, we didn't have one blip on our electrical system that day. So great all around. We did have a couple of items on the agenda for executive session for a purchase or sale of property, and another for compensation of personnel
Plus litigation.
and pending litigation. So, do we need a motion individually for those?
You can do it all at once. that'll work.
Okay. Can we have a motion to go into executive session for purchase or sale of property, compensation of personnel, and pending litigation, please?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Gordon,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes. All right, can I have a motion to come out of executive session for the purchase or sale of property, compensation of personnel, and pending litigation?
So moved.
Second.
Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Dr. Gordon.
Yep.
Molly.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes. No action taken. Item M, approval payment of bills. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the bills shall stand approved. They will be approved. Item N, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Jinx.
Buy me a Coke.
Rox, please call the roll.
Dan,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Porter,
Yep.
Holly,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes. We are adjourned.